Hello.
Hello, ma'am.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So last time we discussed about some basics of probability theory. We discussed how a consistent and asymptotically normal estimator is useful because consistency is basically related to convergence in probability, and then normality is related to convergence in distribution. That much we saw. So why do we need distribution of an estimator? Because as we discussed, that's how we can actually get confidence interval, right? So whenever you get confidence interval, I know many people find this very confusing, especially in the classical setup. So you say that say x bar minus, you can see my screen, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So x bar minus 1.96 sigma by root 10, comma x bar plus 1.96 sigma by root 10. This is a confidence interval for mu. Okay, that's what we generally say. What does it mean by this being a confidence interval for mu? Can this mean question mark that probability of mu belonging to this interval, if I call this I, belonging to this interval is 0.95? Is that what it means?
No, ma'am.
Okay, then
Ma'am, it means that it is chance of, ma'am, my voice is being good. Actually, ma'am, we will be finding, we will be finding an estimate of mu within this interval uh, in almost 95% of the times.
so are you saying something like this? Estimate of mu is mu hat. So do you mean to say something like this?
Um, yes, ma'am.
What about others? Because if that is the case, then I should call it confidence interval for mu hat. Why should I call it confidence interval for mu? What about others? What do they say?
Ma'am, it is the actually, ma'am, it is nothing but the interval estimation of the mu, right?
Hmm.
So, ma'am, in that case, we will actually want to find the uh, there there are two types of estimation, that is point estimation and interval estimation.
Mm-hmm.
In a point estimation, we want to find that what may be or what is approximately the actual value of that estimator may be.
Mm-hmm.
Or in interval estimation, we want to find that in what range, with a kind of having a confidence level with at within what range that value of that estimator uh, can it be there. So, ma'am, in that case, finding a value of finding an interval in which that the value of mu can be there means that, ma'am, by using a type of using a sample, it will be we will be having a certain value of mu such that we may find a certain value of mu such that um, this range such that that value may fall within this interval, and we will be having a surety of 95%.
I don't get it. See, that's what, again, this is what, yes, that's where the ambiguity lies. Okay, so I'm asking, so does it mean this again? Initially, when I wrote this, you said no. But then from your discussion, I don't have a clarity why do you mean no to this? Others should contribute now. I've like listened to one person's point. What about others? And don't worry, this is confusing. So what?
Confidence interval, sorry to interrupt. Confidence interval, I guess, displays the probability that a parameter will fall between a pair of values, I guess.
So you mean this?
Which, yes, ma'am, I mean this.
Okay.
Ma'am, actually, I don't mean this because since parameter is, we cannot have a probability distribution of a parameter unless and until we know that this parameter is having another distribution that is kind of different setup in probability.
So this should have been your first statement. Again, see, you guys are preparing for interviews. Nobody is going to listen to you for 10 minutes if you can't explain your point clearly. You should be able to say that point precisely. This should have been your very first statement, Kushal. Then I would have listened to rest of the things. Otherwise,
Okay.
I would feel that okay, you don't know your point. You are just trying to cover up your lack of knowledge by throwing in some words. This should have been very first statement. I don't mean this because parameter is not random. That's all. That's a precise statement that I was expecting.
Ma'am,
Then
actually,
you,
I was wanting to support this thing. Actually,
supporting comes later. You should first say
Okay,
your
okay, okay.
point. Then you should support. You give me an essay,
Okay.
but there is no point to that essay because finally in the end you didn't say this statement.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. So your point should come first. Then you should talk the reasons. Okay. What about others? And so he has now told one point clearly that okay, mu is not random. So I cannot really talk about probability distribution of mu. Does everyone agree to this part? Does everyone agree to this part that mu is not random?
Yes, ma'am.
Because mu is a parameter, right? So in the classical setup, I am not going into Bayesian. In the classical setup, mu is not random. Mu is a constant. We have always been told in BSc that the parameter is fixed constant. It may be unknown, but it is still fixed. So saying that probability that mu belongs to this interval is slightly confusing because since mu is fixed, if I fix this interval, suppose here I have x bar, then I have x bar minus, that means basically lower limit obtained from by using x bar, and then I have upper limit here. So mu is either going to be in this interval or somewhere outside this interval. Mu is a fixed point. There is no probability involved. So if mu belongs to this interval, then probability of mu belonging to this interval is 1. If mu is somewhere outside, then probability is 0. There is no question of mu being inside this or outside this 95% of the time. If we focus on this fact that mu is not random. But then we have always been studying since BSc that this is a 95% confidence interval. So if mu is not random, then what is random here? What is random here is this interval. Okay, this interval is random. How? Because my x bar is sample dependent. So my x bar is random. Okay, it's not a population parameter. X bar is sample mean. So x bar is random. And similarly, my sigma hat is also sample dependent. So it is also random. Okay. So this interval is random. Mu is fixed. So when I say this is a 95% confidence interval, what do I really mean? What I mean is, suppose I give a same task to 100 different people. For example, I am talking about considering constructing confidence interval for say height of human beings in height of adult humans in say India. Okay. Then I am giving this task to 100 different people. So person 1 collects a sample of size say n I am fixing in advance. So person 1 collects a sample of size n and gets me first estimator of x bar, first estimator of mu, that is x1 bar, and first estimator of sigma, that is sigma 1 hat. Okay, then person 2 collects his or her own sample of n people, records their height and reports me these x2 bar and sigma 2 hat. Okay, I repeat this exercise with 100 different people. Each of them collects a sample of size n and gives me the corresponding value of sample mean and sample sigma. Using this, I'll get I1, I2, I100 as the 100 different intervals. Okay. And now if the actual mu was known, then this mu is likely to belong to roughly 95 of these intervals. Okay, my interval is random. If I change sample, I'm going to get a different interval, and my population mean mu is supposed to be belonging to roughly 95% of these intervals. So roughly 95 of these 100 intervals. Is it okay? That is what the interpretation of the classical confidence interval is, because mu is not random. But we know in real life we can never have 100 samples. In most of the cases we are going to have just one sample. So how do I verify these things? Okay, in fact for x bar my life is easy, because I know that variance of x bar is sigma by root 10, where this sigma is actually variance of your original exercise. Okay, but if I go to some complicated statistic, if I go to say mode of a sample, then what do I know about variance of mode? Theoretically, it's very difficult. People have worked out, no doubt about that. But for an average statistician, computing variance of mode theoretically for every distribution is difficult. So if I don't know variance of mode, how would I get confidence interval? Okay. I am audible, right? Yeah. So, okay. Yeah. So, if I don't know variance of mode, how would I get confidence interval for mode? I can't get that. Okay. So, given a single sample, we can get a point estimate for most of the things that we want. However, getting an interval estimate on the basis of single sample is very difficult for many of the statistics which are not that well studied. For things like sample mean, sample variance, it's fine because you have already worked out their theoretical variance. But for any arbitrary statistic, it is generally difficult to get a confidence interval. Okay. And why do we need confidence interval? Because there is an equivalent of there is an equivalence between testing and interval estimation. Is everyone aware of that? Duality of testing and interval estimation? How we can carry out test without actually computing test statistic on the basis of... Yes, so can someone explain? Someone other than Kushal now. I want others to talk. For example, if I want to test mu equal to 0 for a sample x1, x2, on the basis of a sample x1, x2, xn coming from normal mu sigma square. Okay. And suppose I get this confidence interval x bar minus 1.96 sigma by root n sigma hat, let's say x bar plus 1.96 sigma hat by root n. Okay, so instead of computing test statistic on the basis of this interval, can I conclude whether my H0 should be accepted or rejected? Someone other than Kushalan should explain. Yeah, there are 31 people in the meeting. So 2 or 3 of them are suppose me. Then 27 people are there other than Kushal. So any of these 27 people. On the basis of this interval, can I conclude whether H0 mu equal to 0 should be accepted or rejected? See, you can take a guess. There is no harm in being wrong.
Ma'am, if the value of mu lies between these two upper and lower limits, then we can say that H0 is accepted.
Value of mu means what? I don't know mu. That's why I am testing. Mu is unknown. That's why I am testing whether mu can be taken as 0.
Ma'am, can I?
Who is it?
Kushal.
No, no, no. I said someone other than Kushal. I specifically said this. Yes. Anyone? Okay, let me repeat the question. I want to test h naught mu equal to 0 on the basis of a sample x1, x2, xn coming from normal mu sigma square. I have constructed a confidence interval on the basis of this sample for mu. That confidence interval is now with me, so I know the lower limit, I know the upper limit. So can I conclude just on the basis of this confidence interval without computing the test statistic whether h naught mu equal to 0 should be accepted or rejected?
Yes, ma'am, we can assume that.
How?
Assume value of mu if lies in that interval, we see that S naught is accepted.
I don't know value of mu. That is my problem. That's why I'm testing. If I knew value of mu, why would I be testing? Assumed value means what?
Ma'am, since the hypothesis test mu equals to 0, in the confidence interval, there is no presence of mu there. So I guess for that we can say it is accepting mu equals to 0.
How do you say that?
Ma'am, because here there is no effect of mu.
Oh, what do you mean no effect of mu?
Ma'am, because the confidence interval has no change with respect to mu.
No, x bar is going to get affected by mu. You are saying this formula doesn't have mu? That's what you are trying to say?
Yes, ma'am.
But confidence interval formula will never have mu, because if the parameter is in the formula, then how can you say it is an estimate of that parameter? You can't have unknown things in the confidence interval formula.
Okay, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, ma'am.
Yes, who is this?
Hello, ma'am.
Yes.
The Utpal. Hello, ma'am.
Yes,
the
yes.
confidence interval is minus and to plus value. Then we can say that mu is equal to 0.
Okay, why? So you are saying if lower limit is negative and upper limit is positive, then you can say mu equal to 0 is accepted. Is this what you are trying to say?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
Ma'am, because the normal distribution is symmetric.
Okay. What about others? Do they want to help him out? So, if you are saying this is because normal distribution is symmetric, let me give you another question. Okay. So, I have x1, x2, xn again coming from normal mu sigma square. Okay. Now, my aim is to test h naught sigma square equal to 1. Okay, my aim is to test h naught sigma square equal to 1. I got some confidence interval for sigma square, so lower limit and upper limit. So on the basis of this confidence interval, can I conclude something about sigma square? I mean, can I conclude whether h naught sigma square equal to 1 should be accepted or rejected?
In previous question, if 0 lies in interval, then h naught is accepted. In present latest question, if 1 lies in the interval, then h naught is accepted.
Correct. So I think Sushil, by assumed value, probably you mean that the value, hypothesized value, right? So what Samruddha said is correct. the hypothesized value, if it belongs to the interval, then we say that the test would be accepted. If the hypothesized value, that is value under h0, here 0, here 1, if it doesn't belong to the corresponding interval, then we say the test is rejected. Okay. So Ujjwal, your answer was correct. Means if lower limit is negative and upper limit is positive, then we will say h0 is accepted, but that is because that means that 0 lies in between. If lower limit is negative and upper limit is positive, it means that 0 is in between. Okay, but it has nothing to do with the symmetry of normal distribution. Okay, that is correct because mu is 0. If I was testing for mu equal to 5, then I would just want the lower limit to be less than mu and upper limit to be greater than mu. It doesn't have to be negative positive. Okay, so this is the duality between testing and interval estimation, and hence even when you want to develop a test statistic, you need to know the estimate of variance of that statistic. So here x bar or sigma hat. So you need to know variances of these quantities. But in reality, if I have just one sample, okay, if I have just one sample, then I'll have only one value of x bar. On the basis of that one value of x bar, empirically at least, I cannot get variance of x bar. Correct? I cannot obtain variance of x bar. Theoretically, I know sigma hat by root 10, so it's fine. And in case of x bar, it is easy, so my life is easy. But as I said, if I am talking about mode, or if I am talking about median, or if I am talking about something like range, so xn minus x1, then what is the variance of range? Theoretically, if I ask you without googling, can you immediately tell me what is the formula for variance of range? No, it is difficult. People have worked it out, no doubt about that. But then there are many such statistics where getting variance theoretically is difficult. So ideally, if we could have multiple samples, we could get estimates of these quantities from those multiple samples and then use those estimates as a sample from the distribution of these statistics and then get the variance and hence the confidence interval, and hence we can construct test statistic also. Let me repeat what I said. Probably it was a bit fast. If suppose I have sample 1, sample 2, sample 100 instead of just one sample, then I could get value of range 1. Suppose I am talking about distribution of range or variance of range. Then I could have range 1, estimate of range coming from sample 1, estimate of range coming from sample 2, estimate of range coming from sample 100, and this I could say is a sample from distribution of r hat, the estimated range. Okay, actual range is of course a single fixed quantity, but estimated range, just a minute. Okay, okay, I'm back. So where were we? Yeah, so this could be taken as a sample from distribution of estimated range. Estimated range is a test statistic, so it has distribution. In fact, if you remember, you have used the word sampling distribution in BSc. Do you remember?
Yes, ma'am.
So it was called, for example, T, chi-square, these are called as sampling distributions because they come in picture when you talk about distribution of a statistic based on multiple samples. Okay, hence they are called as sampling distributions. But as we said, in reality, it is not possible to get multiple samples, hence comes the concept of resampling. Okay, that is trying to get multiple samples on the basis of the original sample that we have. Okay, so I think you have a lecture at 12, so let me stop here for today. In tomorrow's lecture we will actually start with the bootstrap. So bootstrap is one of the most famous resampling techniques. Then we are going to learn about jackknife, and from bootstrap and jackknife we will go one step further to what is known as k-fold cross validation, and then we will see how all these things can be useful in data mining. Okay, so I hope whatever we discussed so far, it is clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, So let me stop here. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.